I think the pharmaceutical cartel in some ways is lined up against this because medical marijuana is potentially so useful for so many things that they're making money on right now by making drugs to treat them. Yeah. And, if you look at their research efforts, if you look at what's going on in the back room and they're not talking about, they're totally into cannabinoid chemistry, right? I mean, they're developing all kinds of pharmaceuticals, but those are patentable compounds that they can own and produce synthetically and charge you a lot of money for. So I think that pot is a threat to the hegemony of the pharmaceutical cartels. That's one thing. I think the government is kind of deer in the headlights about it,
So there is no medical marijuana in the eyes of the federal government. So you can't even defend yourself by telling the people in the jury that you were not in violation of a state law.
Right.
It's incredible. And it's really a terrible crime on humanity. I mean, that's really what it is.
And the government is essentially a criminal cartel
yes.
in the way that they
handle
approach
that.
this.
Unquestionably, you're putting people in jail that do not only do they not deserve to be in jail, they haven't done anything wrong. And
right.
they're providing people with something that they want, and they're doing it according to a law. It's a state law, and that is a real sickness when people think that they're vindicated or justified in some way for locking those people in cages. Those are the real criminals. That's
right.
the real criminals in our society, is the people that are locking people in jail for pot. Like, that's a real sickness. And the hypocrisy is just so outstanding in everywhere, in every bar, in every drugstore, everywhere you go there's alcohol, and yet you're going to lock these people in a cage for
right.
doing something that's not nearly as bad. That's insane.
Here's the thing. Yes, everything you say is true, but the thing is, the people see through this. The fact that you could get this vote in Washington and Colorado is a very hopeful thing. If they will let it go forward, then over time they'll begin to see the benefits of that, right? In the sense that, exactly as you say, pot smoking is not nearly as harmful as alcohol. So you'll see reduced traffic fatalities. People may be driving stoned, but they're safer drivers if they're stoned than if they're intoxicated. You'll see reduced incidences of domestic violence and other kinds of violence. You'll see that actually letting people smoke pot alleviates a lot of societal problems. I mean, it won't eliminate them, but you'll see statistically significant reductions in a lot of the parameters that, because we know that alcohol, fuels violent behavior. It fuels domestic violence, traffic accidents, all this stuff. Those things will be reduced if people start smoking pot in place of that,
I guess I'm just disappointed in the fact that it's taken so long that I've become kind of cynical to how the way the government approaches it, because it just seems so ridiculous at this point.
Well, it does seem ridiculous, and it's like the emperor has no clothes. I mean, it's like this policy has so long been in place, and there's so much inertia behind it, right? There's the whole law enforcement infrastructure, the DEA, the prison industrial complex, so many things depend on. It's not just the drug cartels,
right.
and their profits go away, but the whole governmental infrastructure to support the
prison guards unions.
Yeah, all of those things, they're enormously threatened. They don't want things to change. The last people who want to see pot legal is drug dealers. Their profit margins go out the window.
I don't think they really lobby that much, though. I don't think they're the issue.
No, they don't, but you know what I mean. And the government has a big investment in the current, situation.
I feel, if anything, the one thing that's going to change everything is the internet. It's just the access to information is so complete now that there's really it's too hard to maintain ignorance.
Right, and for the government to maintain that marijuana has no medical application is just absurd. I mean, it's just absurd.